With that, we're going to bring this back to the board for a vote, and I'll entertain a motion.
Come on, Wapner.
Ms. Robson, Harrison has moved to support staff's recommendation. That's to move forward. Do I have a second? Dies from a lack of a second.
Yeah.
Nice job, guys.
Thank you.
We're now going to move to item 16, and that's the Council of Governments is to authorize SBCOG staff to continue the efforts within the feasibility study for a community choice aggregate.
The JPA, would it be, let's say that a city wanted to be a part of the JPA, would they have representation on the JPA Board of Directors?
That's what needs to be worked out. That's exactly how that gets governed. So if you have 50 cities, it might be an executive council and a broader, or maybe all 50 have a vote. But that would be something that the cities that are interested would have a voice in trying to guide and determine.
Okay.
So we brought this forward of why consider CCA. First is choice for consumer. Right now they have no choice in where they get the power or how those rates are set. Second is for local control and transparency. Rate setting in the CCA is done by the collection of the members of the governing body that is overseeing. So they set the rates. They also make the decisions about how funds that are generated by the CCA get used, whether they are for efficiency programs, whether they're for economic development rate programs, or what have you. That's the local choice. Results of the feasibility study show the rates could be anywhere from 3.8 to 4.5% lower than the current or projected Edison rates, and that's based on a portfolio of 50% renewable power. In the SVCOG region by itself, those savings could be 3.4 to 4% lower, again, based on having the power come from 50% renewable portfolio. That surpasses the 33% mandated by the state for 2020 and meets the 2030 goal that is set.
Good morning, unelected shadow government board. Community choice aggregation. This is the latest scam you guys are trying to push on the public. I am all for the breakup of Southern California Edison, the monopoly, but not like this. What you are trying to accomplish is you want to fix a problem of private industry with a government solution. And we don't like your solution, not one bit. The state of California and the other climate change fanatics are trying to usher us into a post-industrial world. If this is achieved, that means all the things we take for granted in our life will be distant memories. Things like electricity, running water, cars, airplanes, etc. And if you think the Industrial Revolution is a bad thing, then I suggest you give up your little devices, because that's what created those things. The state of California is trying to push us onto renewable energy, which is failing all over the world. Northern Ireland is in the process of dissolving their entire government right now because of a green energy scam. We don't want green energy. The private sector doesn't want green energy. If we wanted it, we would buy it. But the only way people will buy it is through subsidies via grants. This whole presentation is about the creation of a new JPA, or a Joint Powers Authority. And, I think we need to explain to people what that is. SCAG is a JPA. We don't want another SCAG. You talk about having choice. What choice did people have 52 years ago when SCAG was created? What choice do people have when SCAG holds meetings at 9 in the morning in downtown Los Angeles, and there's people that live 400 or 500 miles away, and they're supposedly being represented. What choice is that? People who are on city council are supposed to do that and only that. We are not electing you guys to sit on an electricity SCAG, where you will be administering energy policy over cities you were not elected to serve. Since when did you all become experts on energy? This is ridiculous. The Northern Border Regional Commission, the Appalachian Regional Authority, and the Delta Regional Authority. How many of you have heard of those agencies? Those are JPAs, and guess what? Our president is proposing a new budget, and in that budget, if it passes, those agencies are being shut down forever. Yeah. That's right. The new budget is shutting down agencies like SCAG and Sandbag and your CCA, JPA Energy SCAG. The clock is ticking. Someday this agency will be shut down, as well as your new electricity scam. Yeah. Shame on whoever votes for this, as you are declaring yourself an expert on energy policy when it's your job to sit on city council. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments today. We're going to move to our next speakers. We have Mr. Stephen Rogers.
Chairman Lovingood, SBCTA, SB Board, Steve Rogers, speaking on behalf of the Mentone Area Community Association. This program, to me, is wrong. I call it JPA's gone wild. And that's because, just like Gary was saying, Edison is a private company. I know each one of your cities, you have them as your partner. And so just on that basis alone, it's a little bit of a conflict that you would even be talking about doing this instead of letting the private sector do it. Good. If you wanted, as far as in the county, I think that the idea about a JPA should be completely scrapped. Because the cities, if they want to do it, they'll do it themselves. And then the county, my suggestion for the county would be that you do talk about local control. And when you talk about local control in the county, there's something called a CSD, a County Services District. And that's what I would say, because each one of those has a board, and that would be real local control. And if you wanted to propose something like that, I wouldn't be against it, because basically to create a CSD, you have to go out to the voting public and ask them. That's a real community program. Not like this program, which has community in the name, but it's actually a government program. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today, and I think one of the truest things that was said today is from the gentleman from Apple Valley, and that is this. He didn't say it quite this way, but this is my interpretation. You're fighting the wrong enemy. Your enemy is actually the California Public Utilities, and they govern everything from the water to the electricity, all of your utilities. And their power is given to them with no accountability to you. And that is the real challenge. But that is a challenge that's going to require an awful lot of courage to stand up and fight against them, because we already know that their political power is very strong. But if we really want to make a change for all of California, wouldn't it be a better idea to gather up, to form across county after county after county and city after city after city, and together, let's fight the California Public Utilities Company so that private utilities company under the law is not guaranteed a profit, so that if you use less water or less electricity, you have to pay a charge. That is the real enemy. So having said that, I'd like to point out on page 50 of this particular business plan for what we are talking about today, it's going to cost nearly $200 million in startup cost. That's $200 million within the first year of launch. Who's going to guarantee that loan? And even if you go out for revenue bonds, where is responsibility? What is the risk to the general fund and to taxpayers? How can the CCA guarantee it will receive subsidies? Because we already know that the lifeline of this is going to be government subsidies. And without those subsidies, renewable energy sources could not survive because they're not cost effective.
Right.
Reliance on subsidized renewables creates risk, uncertainty, and makes energy markets vulnerable to losses or even collapse. This is a loose end, an extremely high risk. Energy subsidies are a creation of government, thus subject to shifting political currents. The viability of CCA could hinge on the outcome of a single election, and that again would place taxpayers at risk. So, having said that, we have to also say that, am I out of time?
Yes.
I'm so
And
sorry.
You'll have a chance at the end of public comments if you'd like to come back. Thank you for your
May I?
comments.
All right, tell me when I can come back. I
Thank
won't
you.
be so...
Good morning. Thank you all for what you do. I've taken a few notes as we've been sitting here today, and as Mrs. Gonzalez mentioned, $200 million in startup fees. That's just the first year. That's your startup fees, folks. So know what you're dealing with here. Real greenhouse gases reduction, not displaced reduction. Real greenhouse reductions happen when there is a new, or they call it new net source for energy. If the renewable energy is generated by an existing resource, reduction of greenhouse gases is a false claim. Since the CCA will displace the consumer who previously received the energy from a pre-existing resource, the displaced customer must now purchase what you are going to be calling brown power, meaning gas-fired or coal-fired. The greenhouse reduction that is advertised by the CCA is actually a net negative. The only way to fix this is if the displaced consumer placed into service a renewable generating resource that would produce an energy volume equal to that what was lost with the CCA during the procurement process. I know the word, I just can't say it. The CCA plan claims it will achieve a GHG reduction approximately 1 year after business launch. At that time, CCA claims the net energy sales would be 14,200,000 plus megawatt hours. This volume is 8 times higher than that of the Marin clean energy process, which was only 1,700,000 megawatt hours. So CCA claims 100 megawatts of local, new renewable compatibility will be available after 1 year of business. Wow, they work fast, don't they? Consider the compounding difficulty to bring relatively large CCAs into operation. If the renewable online resources took 7 years in Marin County, it's amazing that they will be able to accomplish this in less than a year.
That is time. Thank you, Ms. Neal.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Winnie Durlett.
Yes, that's close enough.
All right, sorry, yeah. Good morning, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well.
Thank you all for having us here today. I have some notes here that I was going to talk about the conversation that went on between all of you earlier, and this lady sparked a thought.
Yes.
What's really amazing here happens all the time when it has to do with politicians and government. Government has created this problem by the PUC and sticking its nose into private business. They're being told by the government what they can charge, how they can charge it. They're being told that you can get your power this way. We want renewables, even though no industry will go into the business without subsidies from government, because we already know before we ever started this that renewables don't work. They cannot be reliable. They can't give us enough to sustain the lifestyles that we have. They don't work. The government forced them to do this. Now here you are talking about there isn't enough choice. So what's the answer?
More government.
Darn it, more government. I mean, we got a choice between this government and this government, but this government over here still has to answer to the PUC. So this whole effort seems to me to be a false start. I'm with Carolyn and this lady here. We don't need to spend more money to set up a business that we don't know anything about and we don't know how to run it. And what Carolyn said, the true enemy is the PUC and the state government and the federal government. And we don't need to add another layer of quasi-government on top of SBCOG and a new JPA. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. We'll turn to our next speaker. We have Carol Hogden.
Good morning. I just want to say I'm a little heartened. It sounds like there is some good government representation going on here, just from what I've heard. Thank you. But I want to make a general comment that's kind of been alluded to. You all come from different sources, but these regional boards, SCAG, CAA, this is not the way our constitutional republic was built to run. Right. And this is some of the problems are coming out here being said, so I feel good about that. In fact, my mayor is here. She was very kind to me last night. We had a meeting and there was a lot of contention going on because some people want this project and some people don't. But that's the way it's supposed to work. Because if I don't like what my mayor does, I can try to vote her out of office next time, which I would never do because I really love her. But that's the way it's supposed to work. Anyway, I have some quick comments here about the pricing, our concern about this. I have 6 points. 1, consumers will be opted into the plan and then they have to opt out. If this is so great, why is there an automatic opt-in? Southern California Edison could have a temporary price advantage, could have, if wholesale prices drop. After CCA executes the power contract, the author of this contract implies CCA will always have a price advantage over Southern California Edison. Author doesn't know this because Southern California Edison doesn't know its future forward and bilateral contract prices. And what about the future tolling contracts? By the way, the one gentleman that kept talking about, the low prices of natural gas, well, that's because of fracking. And you forget that we live in the People's Republic of California. Jerry Brown will not allow fracking here, so I don't know how we're going to take advantage of that. The plan calls to make SoCal Edison whole again. When you take their customers, they're compensating using exit fees or power charge and different adjustment. Does that sound like gobbledygook? If costs increase, consumers will opt out, putting the CCA in a potential death spiral because now costs will be shared by a much smaller pool, triggering more opt-outs. The plan states that CCA have become very vigilant in this area. What does that mean? How do we know this? Exit fees are not a stable issue. Investor-owned utilities at the California Public Utilities Commission, PUC, despite the vigilance of the CCA.
Excuse me, ma'am. That is time.
Oh, that is my time. Oh, I got halfway
Thank
through.
you. Thank you very much. Okay, our next speaker, I saw Mr. Rodriguez step out for a moment, so we're going to go to Arthur Schlepper. Do I have that correct? Arthur?
Shopper, like shopping.
Sorry, thank you. Sorry about that.
I should be used to it though, buddy.
And I'm hard.
All right, my name is Arthur Shopper. I am a member of We the People Rising, the Remembrance Project. I'm also the president of the Beach Cities Republicans. I have driven 2 hours to be at this meeting because there is a similar scheme going on in Los Angeles County, specifically with the South Bay Council of Governments, to push community choice aggregation. There have been manifold failures of this program and serious concerns about it in the South Bay, and you need to know about them because I didn't hear about them today. Lancaster is facing multi-million-dollar overruns with their CCA, for starters. Hermosa Beach, California, which one would consider a quote-unquote green progressive city, residents have woken up, have risen up, and are seriously challenging this CCA nonsense. I don't like to call it community choice aggregation. I prefer to call it communistic anti-choice tyranny, because it doesn't promote the community. It will not promote choice. It aggregates power to the few at the expense of the rest. And that word expense is crucial, because even if individual ratepayers opt out of the community choice aggregation program, they will still be on the hook for it when it fails. I've also called it Obamacare for the energy industry. This is not real choice because it's a government subsidized program, a lot like Obamacare was, and we see what's happening with that. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. You will see the same thing with CCA. If you like your energy provider, you can keep it. No. If you like your program, you'll be able to keep it. No. If you like your individual local control, you can keep it. No. A JPA is a complex and very sclerotic program, organization. We have another JPA that deals with the community colleges in our area, work programs. It's very difficult to accomplish anything. Cost overruns are rampant. Now, there is a gold standard for community choice aggregation, and it's in Marin County. And you know what? At least 30% of their energy is still from conventional sources. Doesn't sound clean to me. You know what I like to call marine clean energy? Unclean energy. It's not promoting this green agenda. And I always think it's important. We need to speak to these fraudulent claims underpinning all of this. Yeah, I believe in climate change, and not just the 4 seasons, but we have cycles. 300 years it gets warmer, 1,000 years it gets cooler. We had a mini ice age here in the LA area, and that was displaced.
Mr. Shaw.
And I'm going to wrap this up.
We are.
Your job is to research this on your own, not with taxpayer dollars. Thank you, Supervisor Ramos, for pointing out the outrageous costs
Our next speaker,
you're already incurring.
Our next speaker
Thank
is
you.
Dr. Newman. Dr. Newman, please come up.
Okay, I'd like to start by stating that when I was in the earlier this morning, I spoke to you guys, you ladies and gentlemen, about the fact that you are not a body of elected officials. You are self-appointed, and I don't think it's a body that you should be serving on, because you're not doing the best interests of the American people. You're probably doing the best interests of yourselves or whoever you represent. Also, I live in Apple Valley, and I don't like the idea of my city running a water company, simply because that's not what they do. They are they are a servant to the people of the city of Apple Valley. They know nothing about the water company. They don't even realize that there's going to be an expense, because they don't know what they're doing. They've never ran a water company before. So now again, we're talking about other utility companies that they want to take over, such as a CCA. They want to implement this. I'm asking that you to vote no on this item 16. I don't think it's good for the public, good for the American citizens. So please reject this offer. It's un-American. I don't think it's serving the interests of the American people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Rodriguez. Our next speaker is now Dr. Newman. Dr. Newman, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. The thrust of my presentation is stop it now. I recall a number of years ago speaking 3 times to City Council of Redlands about various issues. We kept them there till 1:30 in the morning because they were concerned citizens. And this particular issue is the City of Redlands wanted to make a corridor from Redlands over to Citrus Plaza, which didn't exist yet at that time. And it was going through the Hispanic section, the historical section of town. Fortunately, we were able to awaken the Hispanic community sufficiently to have them there in large numbers to encourage the city council from their point of view to postpone the discussion for 3 meetings. So they reappeared next meeting and then reappeared again. They caught on in the meantime that they could sell their house for a sizable amount of money, but they couldn't afford to live in Redlands anymore. They caught on. Now, with respect to this fine woman from Grand Terrace, we own shares in the Riverside Highland Water District. We know about those issues because we own property in Grand Terrace. This is already a well-greased machine going downhill. Please catch on. I've testified before the PUC on 2 different occasions and had a great impact on getting a problem resolved with Edison that they would not take care of. But when the PUC was there, Edison couldn't wait to speak to me until after the meeting. The next day the problem was solved. It had gone on for months. Now, I'm very pleased with the wisdom that some have expressed and a little disappointed. I am private-oriented. Supervisor Kurt Hagman knows that. We've discussed that. Not public-private, not public-public. That's where the competition exists. Otherwise, you as a shadow government remain a bully to the people. The people must be informed to make an intelligent decision about this matter. And it's your responsibility then to inform them. Otherwise, they might have more faith in government than government deserves. We don't need another layer of government.
All right, Dr. Newman, thank you for your comments. So our next speaker is Lynn Koo. Lynn, please come forward.
And I'm going to share this for her at her expense of time, and that's be aware of self-governance.
Dr. Newman, we'll have you back. She is our next speaker. Please.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dyer.
It's nice to be able to.
Ms. Koo, please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Okay, this is in regards to the greenhouse reduction. Greenhouse reduction in the document are unsubstantiated. The plan says a CCA will reduce GHG, which is greenhouse gas, between 2.9 billion and 5.2 billion pounds of CO2 in multiple places throughout the text. Yet no baseline data from the SoCal Edison, nor does it specifically identify portfolio content category energy in its resource mix. The plan's GHG, which is greenhouse gas reduction numbers, are inconsistent from year to year. This is a concern to the extent that errors such as this may also exist in the financial projections, calling into question financial and economic benefits. by mandate, energy service providers portfolios must meet the Renewable Portfolio Standards RPS of 33% renewable energy content by 2020. CCA claims it will not use unbundled renewable energy certificates, RECs, to satisfy these RPS mandates. RECs are under scrutiny by environmentalists because they mislead consumers due to its greenwashing characteristics. Sierra Club refers to REC as deceptive marketing. To keep this commitment, they would have to use a similar action employed by the Marine Clean Energy MCE that loaded and invented clean energy category called voluntary non-existent RPS category. And in the process, greenwashing the excess of 1.1 billion pounds of GHG in brown energy that is sold as clean energy. REC are a financial instrument and are not actual energy. Brown power is delivered to customers instead and is advertised as wind or solar or whatever it is on the REC. The plan will use firm and shaped REC described below. While it is allowed, it misleads the consumers who believe they are paying for clean energy. They're actually receiving coal-fired or gas-fired energy imports into California. This is misleading consumers who are led to believe they're receiving clean energy while they're actually receiving brown energy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Dan Titus.
Good morning. Thank you. Suggestion, call a second name, get them in the queue. That way we can save you guys time.
Appreciate it. Good thought.
There are people here that are going to be more versed in talking about Agenda Item 16 than I am, so I'm going to take the 10,000-foot view. I was born and grew up in Baltimore. As a result, I developed a healthy immunity to the cold, humidity, and bugs. But I developed another immunity that's even more important today, and that's the overreach of government, regardless of its intentions. In the 2nd and 4th grades, we learned the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution, having to memorize many parts of it, spent many late nights doing that. Now, that early education taught me that we have to have a healthy skepticism of government when it crawls outside of those borders set up by the Constitution. And that's proven to be more right than wrong over the years. Now, President Reagan shared this quote, "The most terrifying words in the English language, I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So when government says it has or is the answer, it gets my attention. We're watching the implosion of the government's attempt to do the same, solve the healthcare and health insurance sector's problems in the American economy. The unfunded pension liability here in California, which ranges from $500 billion to $1 trillion, is getting the taxpayers' attention in California, only starting to get the attention of the media and get a taxpayer response. And with that as a backup, now the governor wants legislation to raise our gas taxes to address another manufactured crisis. To this, I ask, what were the highest gas taxes in the country used for, if not to fix the roads? Why are we in this dilemma right now where we're looking at SB1? So when a government body considers another, sorry for the pun, power grab, literally it gets my attention. When the government picks winners and losers, they don't ultimately have a very good track record. The default response from the taxpayer should always be to protect their wallets. The green agenda has been unmasked. The politicization of science has been exposed for the fraud that it is. Part of me actually wants to see a yes vote on this. And the reason is it will give us an opportunity to expose the tremendous fraud and lies that have been perpetrated on humanity. And let me remind you of Solyndra and Enron. There is a letter from the Huntington Beach Commissioner, Michael Hoskinson, that's been sent to the clerk of the board. I would have liked to have read a portion of that into the record, the first paragraph, but I would commend that to your attention because it's a very thorough reading and an understanding of the track record of this proposal. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker now is returned, Mr. Titus, and after that, Mr. Clampett, so we'll be able to move along.
Good morning. You have my letter in your packet. I am going to paraphrase, so forgive me if I stumble through this. The business plan document contains fatal flaws which negates the feasibility of establishing a CCA. Inland Choice Power assumes $125 billion in bypassable exit fee charges levied by Southern California through 2036. Even 1/10 of that is a huge debt burden for any upstart. Inland Choice Power makes no warranty at all, that it will pay exit fee costs after automatically switching or forcing consumers into its program. For example, Marine Clean Energy did initially commit to pay consumer costs in 2010, this before reneging just 9 months into its business launch. Inland Choice Power success is based on inaccurate opt-out claims. Page 24 of the business plan assumes a 25% opt-out. Quote, these opt-out assumptions are conservative estimates when compared to petition rates of other CCAs. For example, Marine Clean Energy's opt-out numbers were 30%. This all is very troubling when considering the plan assumes conservative domestic ratepayer class numbers that represent 50% of Inland Power's total revenues. In San Francisco, a CCA was suspended after $4.1 million rates, and it had to increase it 5 times. Councilperson Carolyn Petty said at the council meeting last summer that Lancaster into long-term energy contracts that are impossible to get out of. And they are projecting a $6.4 million loss in June 2007, this after closing out 2016 with $3.6 million loss. Page 74 of the business plan cites Marine Clean Energy, Lancaster Choice Energy, and Clean Power San Francisco as operational. My question is, for how long and at what cost? I don't want a CCA to promise less than 5% savings on my electricity bill. I don't want to bail out a CCA if they get in trouble. And finally, I don't want my elected representatives wasting more time and money evaluating Choice Power's feasibility study because it is flawed. Please vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Titus. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Mr. Clampett. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Absolutely. Just that by 32 minutes.
Good afternoon, members of the board and councils and attending personnel here. I'm kind of a new guy in town. I'm a member and representative for the organization Foundation for Advanced Conservative Leadership. So that tells you a little bit about me. And what I feel is that some of these councils and boards need a little counsel. And about 3 years ago, I met Mr. Dan Titus, who you just heard, and I was very impressed with the man and his research that he is doing and has done regarding the issues that are at hand today and any other issue that has to do with things that filter down from Agenda 21. And I was impressed with his objective nature of all the study he has done. Now the conservative, the financial posture of this is not going to be discussed by me, but what I'm going to do is counsel you on one thing in regards to the foundation to which I belong. And my suggestion is, if you are in a dilemma on how to vote and how to approach issues as this, call Dan Titus. He is the guy to call. I've seen nobody that knows as much and writes as well as he does. Because we all stand, that is, in this group, such as Dr. Newman, we all stand for individual responsibility and individual liberty. So put it upon yourselves as an individual to get educated, understand what you're voting for when you vote on issues as this. because the foundation or advanced conservative leadership is watching you. So all you council members and board members, get counsel when you need it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker we're going to turn to is Kathy Pons. Pons, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Wow, must be a controversial item if you've got 7 leaders back here of 7 or more political groups. I mean, we've got Freedom Tea Party, We the People Rising, Chino Tea Party, Mountain View Republican Group. We're all here. We're all representing because this is controversial. And that gentleman has the word of the day, the statement of the day, how half-assed. If you guys want to take this back, that's not even done, this plan, to your city councils, you know we're here, we're ready to go, and we're ready to be your biggest burden in your city. We've already fought numerous things in numerous cities, where many of you I know on a personal level, and we'll fight this as well. Each one of us will take a city. Here we go again. This unelected board is advocating that cities and counties switch from private investor-owned utilities to government entities. Your claim is to save ratepayers money. This is impossible because government utilities will push subsidized green renewable energy, which costs more to produce. When was the last time government did anything better than the private sector? Your proposed community choice aggregation is a policy that enables local governments to add up electricity demand within their jurisdictions in order to procure alternative renewable energy supplies while maintaining the existing electricity provider for transmission and distribution services. It promotes expensive renewable energy over traditional forms of energy. In short, it adds a middleman to siphon off more of our money. A CCA has been proposed that will impact electricity rates in all cities in San Bernardino and Riverside counties. The plan will spend millions in financed capitalization costs establishing a joint power authority, another unelected board. The costs include staffing. Can you say the word pensions? I know a couple cities out there that are dealing heavily with pension issues. And overhead, a consultant report says the ratepayers can realize less than 5% savings on their current electricity bill. Big deal. CCA will force opt-in to a new government power companies. You are the elected board officials, well, appointed from your cities. You know the pulse of your community. I know Ms. Robertson, I know Ms. Stone, and I know Jesse. They know what's going on in their cities. They know how this is going to go if it goes back to the cities. It's not going to go well. So please, I urge an absolute no vote on this measure, on this plan. It's not, if I go to class in college and I don't have my homework done, I'm going to fail the class. So you guys fail with this proposal. Say no, take it back to the board, take it back to the drawing lines. You need to do something better than this if you represent the citizens of your hometown.
Thank you, Ms. Pons. Appreciate your comment. Very much.
And no, not
Now,
abstain.
that finishes our public comment. We're going to bring this back to our board.
One more.
I want to comment too.
I don't, Ms.
You
got
don't
a
need
card
a
for
slip
you?
from me. If the Brown Act doesn't require me to turn in a slip.
Right.
Respect the Brown Act.
Turn them off. Okay, I'll make it quick though. It's too bad Josie Gonzalez isn't here because she was one of the most vocal people on this board against this whole idea. Don't worry about Dwayne, the presenter. He has plenty to do cleaning up the hero.
Yeah.
You're gonna better interrupt me. I'm gonna file a thing on
You're
you.
going to direct your comments to me, not staff.
Okay, I'm talking
So
to you,
if
Mr.
you're speaking to
Levigood.
the board, you're going to mention staff or in the public
He is the
hearing.
presenter.
Okay.
He's the one who will do
The
more
comments are
to
about
get
item
around.
16. Please move forward.
Okay, Dwayne has plenty to do with the hero class action lawsuit, and we just need to vote no on this and just stop this right now. Mike Hoskinson did give you guys a really good letter. He sent it, I don't know if you got it in time. I'll read a little bit of it as much as I can in between Mr. Lovingood interrupting. During my time on Planning Commission, this is from Mike Hoskinson from Huntington Beach, I analyzed many complex issues. Recently, I was made aware of community choice aggregation and the potential implementation in Huntington Beach. After reviewing the history of CCAs and power generation, existing implementations,
and the stated pros and cons, I must strongly recommend a no vote on CCAs for the following reasons. And he listed off several different reasons here, 1 through 4. The one that caught my eye the most was this current political climate. CCAs are entirely dependent on subsidized renewable energy, as we see with the Trump administration. Moves with EPA pronouncements on climate change, it is likely that subsidies for renewables will be curtailed. So just forget this. Vote no. And no, Ms. Robertson, no. Not abstain, no. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. This concludes, and I'd like to say, as we bring this back to the board, I'd like to appreciate all the public comment today. I appreciate the input and hearing from the public. With that, we're going to bring this back to the board for a vote, and I'll entertain a motion.
Come on, Wapner.
Ms. Robson, Harrison has moved to support staff's recommendation. That's to move forward. Do I have a second? Dies from a lack of a second.
Yeah.
Nice job, guys.
Thank you.